What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for this week's episode of Sword Art Online Alicization. This episode was fucking amazing, guys. I love this week's episode. Art and animation was on point, like it always is with A1. And yes, in case you guys are wondering, I did actually record a reaction to this episode, which is probably going to drop, well, it probably will end up dropping after my review goes live. So yeah, hopefully it can actually upload, because you guys know I recorded one for TG when, chapter 135 got adapted, and couldn't upload because the video got blocked worldwide because the whole, they just claimed, because Marvelous Entertainment or whatever claimed hopefully. So hopefully I don't have that same problem with this one, and I can actually upload it without having to mute the whole thing. So yeah, I hope, so when it goes live, I'll probably have it up in the iCards above, if I can actually upload the video. If I can, you'll probably see it up in the iCards above. So, anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's get on to this week's episode of Sword Art Online Alicization. Also, guys, one last thing before we get into this one. Toonami's tonight. You guys know that SCO is going to be making its debut on Toonami. And I won't lie, when episode 10 airs, of course, the infamous episode where Ricky Kawahara just couldn't help but throw in rape. He has to throw it in there at least once every season. But every time, he has to up himself. He has to top himself from last time. Like, we went from inappropriate touching, then you got the stuff in season 2. And here we had some BDSM and got 2 for the price of 1. Ugh. So, I'm going to probably react to a reaction to what airs on Toonami just because I'm just curious how it's going to air on America. Because remember, guys, in case you guys did not know, when the episode aired in Japan, it was more censored there when it aired on Japanese television than what we got when it aired actually on Crunchyroll and Funimation Now and all those sites. It was actually more censored there. So I'm curious, how is it going to have here in America? Because, goblins, some of that's happened with goblins and everything. Now, granted, Adult Swim is a late night programming, which is made for adults. I mean, it's called Adult Swim. So I'm curious if we're going to get the whole thing just completely unedited, no cuts, no censorship, no nothing. Just the whole, just as it was presented in the Blu-rays, or is it just, are they just gonna give us the Crunchyroll version, but with the dub? I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see when that episode airs. But when it does, I'll do a reaction to it just so you guys get to see me squirm and see what I was reading. Like when I first listened to, just to see how it airs on Toonami. It's gonna be completely uncensored, so I get to see all the gore in all of its glorious detail. But enough jibber jabber, let's get into it. So he starts with off, because Eugeo, he watches the hot spring dude's like right up, he gets up, and we see this man has a bit of the fools in him. By the way, guys, if I sound a little differently or I breathe a lot, it's because actually I'm dealing with allergies right now, so yeah, it's gonna be difficult to record because my nose and stuff, I want to desperately blow at, but I'm gonna fight through it. So if I sound a little differently or at all, that's why. So the dude pretty much extends his hand up, and the sword comes to him like he has the force. Which now you guys have noticed, at least the Bleach fan, at least people that are also Bleach fans have noticed, or if you watch Chibi, you know that Ricky is a bit of a Bleach fan. With some of with Eugeo, Kirito, and Alice's swords being very similar to Zanpakuto's. Of course, Kirito has Zangetsu, Eugeo has Toshiro's, I believe is what he said was, and Alice was, of course, Byakuya, Zanpakuto, Zenbon Sakura. And we see, last week, or at least 2 weeks ago, actually, we saw how very similar their swords are to these various Bleach characters, Shikai's. And for this guy, we find what his is. It's actually not any Bleach characters that I personally know. It reminds me a bit that we're bringing in stands now from JoJo. We'll talk about that more when we get to that part of the episode. But so he gets his sword out and puts it over his shoulder and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, is Fantio, the commander of the girl that Kirito and Eugeo faced off and defeated 2 weeks ago. Is she alive or is she dead?" He was like, "Yeah, she's alive. She's good, man. She should be getting treatment right now." I was like, "All right, good. I will not have to kill you this time around." Is what he said, and he's like, Eugeo says, "I don't like it." I'm like, "Yeah, no shit, brother." And he says that because actually, We should also list off another bunch of other people that are also in Terrible Knights and see if he cared about them. Of course, ending with Alice. Like, yo, don't you care if Alice lives or dies? And which is, let me talk about Alice. So, Chibi brought this up in his review of the episode of his review of SEO last week about, of course, Alice now being a Sunday, she indeed has a fear of heights, where she could, go up there. But also, he talked about how Alice could possibly join Kirito's harem. Please, for the love of God, Reki Koharu, do not do that. Either have her fall in love with Eugeo, and Eugeo got to decide between her and Ronnie. Let him decide. Let go either that direction or be nobody, and they just stay friends. Because if there's one thing I will agree on, that I am sick and tired of SEO doing, and Reki Koharu in general. This is the problem I have with his writing, is I am sick and tired every time this man introduces a new female character, at the end of that season, she wants Kirito's dick. I am sick and tired of the fact that in every season it happens. Season 1, we had Liz, also of course being, Kirito's in-game wife. And, there was Liz and Silica and Sugu. Season 2, Sion. Thankfully, Yuki didn't join the Hammer Grand. She was dying anyway, so it's really not like she could anyway. So that didn't happen. And here we got, now, granted, we've got Ronnie, Tisei, and now Alice. So far, none of them, Ronnie, I'm pretty sure it's Ronnie, is the only one that's fallen in love with any guys, and it's with Eugeo. So, I just pray to God that by the end of this season, Alice doesn't want Kirito's dick. I don't want her falling in love with Kirito. I want no relation between these two guys other than close friends and probably respectable allies. Swordsmen that will probably face off, and she'll probably join these guys in their adventures in not Excel World, in Alfheim, Because that's probably what happened by the end of the season. The guy, whoever's also inside the Matrix with Eugeo and Alice, they might come out there too, along with Kirito, and they all get together and they all join up, and Alpha, or maybe boom, these are just AIs, and they're just AIs. We'll have to wait and see on which one's true on that. But please, for the love of God, do not have her fall in love with Kirito. Please, A1. Please, Ricky. Please, some of you learned your lesson, at least from that man. Please. Anyway, so the man pulls out his sword. So he pulls out his sword, and so he's like, alright, so I don't gotta kill you, but he isn't gonna go easy on me. He talked about how actually that Fierta, or whatever the girl's name was actually his Padawan, or apprentice, you say. This isn't the Star Wars. And if she was to die, he would feel obligated to at least avenge her. And Eugeo replies with, "Oh, so if you die, who will come after me next?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm nobody's apprentice, so you're good on that front, Eugeo." And he also says that maybe little Alice may see me as like a mentor to her. And he also comments, that they're pretty much on equal levels right now. So, and if they went face to face and they went face to face, and they were going all out, he wouldn't know who would win. But if it was like when Alice first came back 6 years ago, it'd be a different story. So it shows you how much powerful Alice is and how she is compared to the other Integral Knights. We also found that yes, this dude is is like the captain of the Integral Knights, or at least one of the head honchos. I forget what exactly his exact rank was, but he's one of the head guys in the Integral Knights. So anyway, so he pulls out his sword. They get into their battle stations. He has his sword facing upwards, while usually also the guy does it. He's like, okay, so he's gonna go for the style, but then he realizes like, no, it's not that style. It's similar, but not quite that way. So he's gonna decide to charge in there. He was using the Ironcraft secret skill, Sonic Boom, I believe it was called, if I remember correctly. And and so he gets ready. He's gonna charge in there and try to take him out that way while he's trying to charge it for his attack. And so, and then the JoJo references don't stop there. We get, well, this is the first of the JoJo references. So, the new guy, the captain says, "Oh, by any chance, are you, he kind of like almost see, oh, no, actually, that happens later on in the episode is what, we're kind of like, where he's like, next thing you'll say is, or when he kind of like knows what he's gonna do next. So I'm sorry, I misremembered a little bit. So right before the beginning, he's asking like, "Hey, are you a continuous attack wielder?" Because that's what a lot of the soldiers within the dark territories use. That's what their predominant sword style is. So Eugeo asks him, "Why does this matter which swords, if it's the continuous or not?" He's like, "Oh, back in the day when I did face off a couple of the Dark Knights, sometimes that was the skills they were using, but they aren't so my pleasant memories." He's like, "Oh, do you?" And Eugeo is like, "Oh, do you want me to switch over to something more conventional to the Integral Knights?" He didn't say it as sarcastically as I did, but he was like, "You want me to switch?" He's like, "Oh, no, please continue using that sword, whatever, use the continuous sword or whatever, as much as you fucking please." And so, and then we actually get like an Akame got killed references. Like, dude, this episode's throwing references all over the place. We got Bleach in here. We got some JoJo. Now we got Akame got killed up here. It's like, oh, I'm going to use my trump card right now. I'm like, if I'm watching Akame got killed, you'll even see my reaction. I talk about how I'm like, what is this, Akame got killed? So he's like, I'm going to use my trump card right now, and it was called Bercouli. I believe is what it's called. So it's like, it's like system goal. Oh, I forget exactly what he said, but it's when Bercouli is coming. So that he slashes through the air, and we get sound effects ripped right out of JoJo of Zarudo. You know the clock sound effects when the clock stops. Those sound effects are playing. I'm like, is this JoJo? So Eugeo is like right towards him, dude, about to use Sonic Leap. He's right toward, but they see the attack is coming right towards him, and it like the look of the attack kind of reminded me of Okuyasu's stand. You know, the hand where when it would slash through the, like when it would slash through something, it had like this green aura around it, or that green look to it. It kind of had a similar vibe to it, but it wasn't as greenly pronounced, I guess, as I was saying it was in JoJo. But so it comes out. Eugeo tries to like stop himself. I think he was also trying to dodge it by going under the attack, but he ends up just hitting it face first, ends up getting slashed in like his mid area, and it's like flying into the pool. We see this blue light, and which I thought this like a sword was going to awake into like its full-fledged Bankai form, and Eugeo's gonna just whoop his ass from here, but no, that doesn't happen. Eugeo actually was just healing the cut, and it just happened to the light was just blue. So he heals up the wound, and he's like, "Oh, I told you." He's like, "Oh, that was a close one there, son. I almost killed you there," and puts the sword back into his sheath. And so he's like, "What move is that?" He's like, "Bro, didn't you hear me? I said that I was going to use my trump card immediately." And so he talks about how, you know, about Freely, and he's like, "Okay, since I can't," and so Eugeo thinks to himself, and this is where the other JoJo reference comes in. So he tells, so he's like, "Okay, so I have to stay long distance. I can't go close quarters with this guy." He says, "Oh, by the way, you were thinking that that after seeing attack, I have to stay long distance, right? I can't go close quarters, right?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, whenever I would face off against Fierla or Alice, they would always say that because they see my attack." So, and it's like, they may not look, but they're actually very competitive. And by the way, I should warn you, as Eugeo make these way out. I like the art, like the animation, not at Toei. The animation A1 did on the water here when you was just getting on the pool. I thought that was really cool. I thought it's only a little bit, but if you pay attention to it, it actually looked really cool. I thought that was a nice little touch from the animation there. Anyway, so he gets on the pool. He tells like, "Oh, by the way, I should warn you. I have never lost to those two. Although he's not saying, although I can't see myself losing to little old Alice one of these days." So. And so he's like, okay, he's like, "Oh, you're a little overconfident. You're overconfident that or it was like you're confident." He's like, "All right, come at me." And so he's like, and he says, "And it hurts, the mental," and slashes his sword in the ground. The ice comes out every time Eugeo does that attack. It is perfection. I love it every time he does it. So the ice is coming right towards him. Eugeo pulls his sword out, starts charging at it with the ice. Oh my god, the art animation here. Godlike. Charges at him there. He slashes through the ice. Slashes through some of the ice. The ice comes, then Eugeo hits the ice again, sends it flying towards the dude. He slashes through it, and then we see another sword in his hand, which, by the way, if you actually paid attention to the episode, you could see that it was a fake sword. When I rewatched the episode a little bit ago, I just rewatched this whole set because it was like my favorite part of the episode. Well, but it's the ending, around the end of the episode, where we had amazing voice acting from Eugeo's Japanese voice actor. This scene right here is like probably my favorite part of the episode. You can just see like how it's a fake sword. It's very icy. It looks similar to his real sword, but you can tell it's fake. So he charges out with the sword. Their sword clashes, the sword breaks. Which I first thought it was because I didn't catch that the sword was fake there. I thought that was like legit his real sword. I thought he legit got his real sword broken. But then we see that actually his sword gets break. Then he spears him. Then he transfers it into a spear. The dude tries to stop himself, but since he was like trying to stop against ice, he ends up his legs end up slipping, and he just goes into the spear, hits the water. Eugeo has these things come out of his fingers, throw them out there. The sword comes right back into his hand, and he's like, "What? And how was this possible?" And then we get a flashback to see how he did it. When he hit the ice to him to distract him, you see that the sword was sent flying into the wall, which is where it was hiding. And so it got down there. He hits the sword against he throws the sword against the ground. Just lands right there. He doesn't like straight up impale the dude, but he kind of puts it in like that general direction. And it says release recollection, and then we kind of fade to white before we are then transformed back to Cardinal's lab or Cardinal's library, where we find out more about the whole scene when they were given the papers that showed up like, "Hey, here's a spell you gotta do to release your Shikais." Let's be honest, they're their Shikais. To release their Shikais or their Augmentals, whatever the hell it's called in the SAU, but I'm just gonna call them Shikais because that's what they are, Shikais. And so Cardinal tells them that there's actually two forms to their swords. To every sword, there's enhance and release. Enhance Augmento, which we have seen already, is pretty much their Shikais. If we are going to keep on with the Bleach comparison, it is their Shikais. Release Recollection, which we just saw earlier, Eugeo do, is essentially their Bankais. These are their Bankais. And she even tells them that you guys should not do Recollection this early because new soldiers, you guys that have just learned the skill, should not be already worried about Recollection. Just like how in Bleach, if I remember correctly, every Soul Reaper that has earned their Bankai, it took them like over 100 years to fully master their Zanpakutos in order to unlock their Bankai. If my memory of the Soul Society art is correct. So if a Platinum or any other Bleach guys are watching this video, correct me down in the comments below. My Bleach knowledge is a little off because it's been a while since I've seen the Soul Society art. Bleach, gentlemen. I need to get back into Bleach. I need to finish up Bleach. Anyway, that's my whole problem. Maybe I'll watch it over the summer or something. I don't know. Anyway, so as I was saying, they should not do Recollection because one false move and they could lose their lives. They could die. Now, this is actually going to tie in later to where we find out about Eugeo's release Recollection, or his Bankai, and how it's right now. Chibi actually said that Eugeo's sword was very similar to Toshiro's Bankai. I'm arguing it's more similar to Rukia's Zanpakuto than it was Toshiro. I'll get into that in a minute. So he gets in there. You know, he's covered in ice, and he's like, "Oh, I've never seen a soldier throw away their sword in battle. Did you learn that yourself? He's like, "Nah, man. My partner told me. Like anything in the environment could be as a weapon or a trap." Which we never. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever seen Kirito actually do that in either season 1 or season 2 or any time in season 3, to my knowledge. I may have misremembering some stuff, but yeah, I'm pretty sure Kirito's never done that before. Anyway, and he's like, "Oh, so you may have won this round, but I'm not done just yet." So then he starts struggling out of the eye. He's like, "Aah!" He's like trying to show the eye. It's like, usually kind of like. You fool! My sword has 2 Bankais! There's 2 forms to his Bankai. It's like Ichigo, where the man got multiple Bankais. There's his Bankai, then there's the Hollow Mask Bankai, then there's the Final Getsuga Tensho, then there's the Fullbringer Bankai, then there's the 1,000-Year Blood War, where his Bankai, where he has 2 swords, and then his Bankai form, if I think this is what it is he grows out the horn, his sword, his Zanpakuto is one, he just swings that around, like, the Ichigo got so many freaking Bankais, so Eugeo can share that same spotlight with Ichigo, so... There's 2 forms to his Bankai. There's the actual ice itself from the sword, but there's also the blue rose part of it. The ice, of course, or at least the snow part of it, freezes everything, but the rose part, he activates a blue rose blossom, I think is what he said. And then all these blue roses are blossom, we find out that's actually taking away both of their health. It's draining. These blue roses are blooming because it is draining both of their health. And it's like, whoa, bro, you trying to kill us both here? Was this your plan all along? And he's like, there is one area where I am superior to you in, and that is in health. Because judging from the way you look, you became an Entangled Knight in your 40s, which I can definitely agree with. From what I can get, look at the guy, he looks like he's about 45 years old, maybe a little bit old. I wouldn't be surprised if he's about in his 50s right now. So, and because of that, his health has been slowly down. What's like you do in real life. The older you get, the weaker you get. Simple as that. You in your 50s ain't as strong as when you were in your 20s, ladies and gentlemen. And because of that, and so Eugeo, well, his is near his peak, because he's like only about 16 or so, like 15, 16 years old is how old Eugeo is right now. So, he's still growing a little bit. Our boy's still growing. And anyway. And so, even though I took a hit from your sword, I should still be good. My health should still be crystal. I should still be good. And so he's like, and so they started blue. Now this is what we're talking. Now this is the part where I gotta talk about Rukia and how I think this is very much similar to Rukia's Bankai. So now, great guys, I haven't read the 1,000-Year Blood War. So all my info is from what I remember from, I believe it was James. So Platinum or any other Bleach guys are here, correct me if I'm wrong about Rukia's Bankai. So, if I remember correctly, Rukia's Bankai, I believe, was actually one of the strongest of the Bankais that we know of. Granted, we've never seen Aizen's Bankai, so we don't know how strong that dude is. But that's a debate for the Bleach YouTubers to take care of. Anyway, because of his, if I remember, Rukia's Bankai is more strong, but it also has a lot of stuff. For one thing, if you guys have played Jump Force, you may have noticed when Rukia uses her Bankai, she completely becomes very crystallized because her body reaches temperatures of Sub-Zero, if I remember correctly. If her body temperature reaches Sub-Zero, because of this, if I remember correctly, she can't move her body, or if she does, her whole body shatters because, like I said, her body temperature is so low right now, it's like in Sub-Zero levels. And because of that, she can't move, and I don't think she can even stay in her Bankai that long because she'll die. Because, like I said, her body temperatures are, beyond or below Sub-Zero levels. So, like I said, this is kind of, so that's why I'm like, it's kind of something to use because, this his release recollection or his Bankai is very similar to Rukia because Rukia can't stay in her Bankai for very long, otherwise she'll die. Same thing with Eugeo. He uses his for too long, he'll die too. So. And so he's like, and then we get this whole thing, which, wow, this was without my favorite part of the whole episode. So Eugeo is here. He's telling him about, and he's like, that you were the protagonist of a fairy tale in my village, and he goes on about the fairy tale which we know already about him defeating the snow dragon, of course. And he's like, look at my sword. You should recognize my sword. He's like, yes, I do from somewhere. And so he recognizes the sword, so he knows where it's from. And then he's like, yes, I know. When I defeated a dragon and I took the sword. And so he's like, oh, that was you? Because you were praised as a hero in my village. And you can actually see Eugeo starting to tear up a little bit here. I didn't actually notice that when I first watched the episode, but when I rewatched it, a few parts of it, I did actually notice that he was actually tearing up a little bit. And the voice I hear from Eugeo's Japanese VA, fantastic. The man deserves a fucking raise after listening to this. And he's like, you were a hero in my village, and that's why I can't forget about you, Integral Knight. Now, I'm pretty sure this whole segment right here is going back to the whole scene that was cut, with Eugeo kind of hating himself, the fact that he is alone here, because he broke the tablet index, but he's like the only one who's done it, so it's kind of been self-hatred, which I talked about a couple weeks back, and Chibi also brought that up in his review. So, as I was saying, so he's like, I can't forget you guys are forgetting who you were not sent here from the heavens, your mother gave birth to you, yada yada, same thing with you, Alice, Virgil, they're all humans just like me. And he's like, I cannot bring myself to believe your story right now, but at the same time, it took me a while for me to really believe the fact that I was some warrior sent by the gods, sent from the heavens. It took him a while to even believe that story, so he's kind of like about 50-50 here with which story he wants to believe. And then we start seeing him turn into ice. Eugeo, his hair starts also turning to ice a little bit too. So then the doors open, and then we got this dude coming in there like he's Sonic over there in a ball, boinging, laughing hysterically. Before we get to that, dude, there's one part of the episode I legit completely forgot to mention, and that's actually the background on the Knight's Commander's sword. It's called Time Splitter. We know that the reason why it has similar properties to Zarudo is actually because this sword was created from the divine object known as a clock. Yes, this big ass sword was made from a clock that was inside the cathedral. Well, that explains why it kind of has like time traveling abilities, kind of. So, man. Anyway, so back to where it was in the episode. So the dude comes in there, he's like, oh, no, this will not do, Knight Commander, this is treason. What you are doing? He's like, what the hell are you doing here? He's like, oh, I am here. He's like, bro, you could have defeated. He's like, what are you talking about? Shut up, why are you here? You shouldn't be meddling with, the matters of two swordsmen, the battle. He's like, bruh, this is treason because I know you did use the second form to the Time Splitter sword, otherwise you could have easily mopped the floor with this guy. So, what you doing here, bruh? What are you doing here? And he's like, oh, shut up. I fought with everything I had. He's like, no. Treason! Jumps on his head. He's like, and then he's like, system. And he's like, alright, bro. Like, when the part when the administrator wakes up, she gonna be living the fact of what you're doing. If only you Hero Knights weren't so goddamn useless. So then he jumps on his head, and there's this system called Deep Freezer. And then he does like ID 001. I forgot what he said before that. And literally the whole dude just gets frozen completely solid. And for some reason, Eugeo doesn't pull his sword out to end end his bond guy. But I guess the man's just so weak he probably just couldn't pull it out because he just falls unconscious. I was just like, oh, I have a new pod that'll be very useful. Before Eugeo falls unconscious, we get to Kirito. We get over to Kirito, and him and Alice are just chilling there. He's like, oh man, I'm so hungry. We don't got that much longer, but I just even how many form go, it makes me dizzy. She's like, bro, Alice is telling him that, bro, like, a couple meals ain't gonna kill you. We're a child. He's like, oh yes, I'm a kid. I mean, well, more like I'm barely even a full grown too. Cause yeah, Kirito's like only about what, 16, 17 nowadays in SAO about, maybe 18. The man's still growing. So, and he's like, oh yeah, and then he goes searching the pockets, and then he finds 2 pork buns. He's about to like, oh yeah, but these probably gonna work his ass in, because they're probably cold at this point. So he does system called Thermal Elemental, and is about to go in there and try to heat these up like a microwave. Alice grabs him and is like, you fool, you idiot, you're going to burn them to a crisp instantly. So she does it, and she does Thermal Element, I think it was Aqua something, and Aerial Element. Puts them all together, and then she heats them like her hand essentially becomes a microwave at this point, and heats them up, and he's like, oh, give me one, and then Alice is about to go and eat both, but he's like, no! So she's like, I was just joking, hands the other one to Kirito, and they enjoy it. and he comments on how that he's not surprised that she knows how to do this because, of course, that she's Selka's older sister. And then Alice, well, actually, right before that, when they were talking about hungry, Alice was talking about how the Tail Knights do get hungry too, and we actually hear her stomach grumble, and Kirito like starts laughing to herself before she tries to grab her sword. She's like, I'm good, I'm sorry, you know, doing that usual stuff. So back to where it was. Grabs his collar, he's like, what did you say, punk? She doesn't say that, but she's like, what did you say? He's like, I said you had a younger sister, and then we see this image. Then we see a shot of Selka, and she's like, and so Kirito says, "I'll tell you everything I know to believe to be true." And he's like, "All right, speak. But if I hear any deceit in your voice, I will slay you on the spot." So, and that is where the episode ends. So overall, love this week's episode of Sword Art Online. I love the voice out of here, the music in that whole section where Eugeo is telling the commander about the fairy tale. I love the music there. Voice acting was spot on. Curious about who this Gesture Joker dude is, and definitely how Alice and Kirito are going to get out of this situation, get up there, and what's going to happen then. Overall, love this week's episode of Sword Art Online Alicization. Tsunami is about to start in about like less than 30 minutes. I'm hype as hell to see what Alicization, how the dub, because you guys know I prefer the dub to SAO. So I'm curious how the dub guys are going to do it, especially for episode 10, because I do feel bad for the guys, for the girls that's the voice, Rita and T-Save, because they got some stiff competition, because the Japanese VAs put their all to that scene, and I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how it's going to go down. It's probably going to be the most awkward recording session ever. But we'll have to see how that turns out when we get to the episode. But until then, guys, overall, I'll give this episode a 10 out of 10. So hope y'all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.